Hey guys, it's Layla from Ignite, and today I'm going to be taking you through another contextual feature which impacts on Eliot's construction of his poetry. So in previous videos, we've spoken about the implications of World War I and why that is so important to Eliot's exploration of mundanity and mortality as two opposing forces. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit more about psychoanalysis, an emerging theory that deeply influenced not only Eliot's subject matter, which is how World War I influences Eliot, but also the form that he mobilizes within his poetry. Up on the board here, I've got a little reference to the rubric, which signals why we must be taking context into account for our analysis. So you're more than welcome to refer to that if you're wondering why we're spending so much time looking into the context of Eliot. And also just to flag, if you're someone who's interested just on a more general level on the context of T.S. Eliot, you're more than welcome to keep listening, despite my links back to the HSC syllabus. So what is psychoanalysis? Why is it relevant to T.S. Eliot? And how is it reflected in his poetry? These are the three questions I'm going to aim to move through. So starting off, psychoanalysis is an interest in the subconscious of the mind and how our subconscious manifests and plays into our present thoughts and our interactions. Now, the subconscious was a real area of interest around T.S. Eliot's time because the pioneer of this concept was Sigmund Freud, and he was writing right around the time that T.S. Eliot was writing his poetry. In fact, Sigmund Freud's first text came out in 1901, which was called The Interpretation of Dreams, where he delved into how our repressed thoughts, which obviously form our subconscious, manifest and come out in everyday activities. He was really interested in things like slippages of tongue, things we say by accident, and how they actually delve into the manifest ideas within our subconscious. The reason this is important to Eliot actually connects to the contextual feature of World War I. Because if we think about the implications of war as a previous trauma and how that manifests in the present, that's going to inform our subconscious and the traumas that play into our everyday experience. So this aspect of psychoanalysis, moving into the mind, how the mind functions and what the subject matter of the mind is actually evoked through Eliot's poetry. The form itself is quite fragmented. We have a lot of disparate ideas which come through, particularly when Eliot is trying to trace one's memory and the impact of memory on our current experience. That interrelationship of temporality, how the past through the mind impacts the present. And that interest in the mind directly influences the construction of Eliot's poetry. He looks at fragmented ideas as a reflection of the psychoanalytic musings that were so profound in his context. So the contextual feature, psychoanalysis. What is it? It's the interest in the mind, particularly the subconscious, and how repressed thoughts or insecurities or anxieties manifest and play out in the present. And he explores this direct relationship of past, of repressed, of subconscious, and how this comes through in interactions. So the point to take away is that interest in the mind, the background of the mind, was culminating around this time due to the contextual influence of Sigmund Freud. You can bring in that specific example and the pioneer of the thought into your essays, and then justify through examples where fragmented imagery or interest in memory or the movement of the mind, where they are actually explored in the poetry on a content level or on a formal level, you should be connecting that to the context of T.S. Eliot. I just want to show you guys an example of where you could comment on psychoanalysis within the poetry. So I've got a quote here from Prufrock. It's actually a motif that comes through in the poem. It's an oral motif. And it reads, "In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo." And the reason this links to psychoanalysis is because our persona in this poem, Prufrock, is neurotic, he's self-isolated, and he is so conscious about how he appears in the presence of women. And the reference to Michelangelo actually functions to expose within him an insecurity about his masculinity. He's presented as quite an effeminate or an emasculated figure, and he is quite concerned about how women respond to him and how he appears in their presence, to the point that he is quite impotent in the sense that he doesn't want to approach the women in the poem and he stays away from them because of this repressed sexual desire he has and this subconscious concern about how masculine he appears in contrast to the, I guess, Renaissance figure and the polymath that Michelangelo was and represents. Polymath, as a side note, represents the man of multiple talents who was a real inspiration during the Renaissance. He represents a very typified form of masculinity. His statue of David, which you may be familiar with, is an emblem of masculinity, so referencing him throughout the poem really exposes all that Prufrock isn't. So the connection here that we're making is the psychoanalytic insight to the insecurities of this protagonist, of Prufrock, influence the way that the poem is written, because our poet, the persona, lets us into the movement of his mind. We gain insight to his subconscious and his insecurities. So the subject matter here is interrelated to the contextual force of psychoanalysis, because that interest of the mind, that anxiety, is very much deeply connected to that contextual feature. You're actually also welcome to connect aspects of World War I in this poem as well. The notion of an effeminate man who has been emasculated is quite common in representations of masculinity in the post-war period. Men who came back from the war came back feeling worn, as though they had really been castrated. Their masculinity was taken away from them. So that very effeminate characterization of Prufrock that comes through via that insight to his subconscious is influenced not only by psychoanalysis, but we see this really nice marriage between psychoanalysis and the implications of World War I that both interrelate in the poem. So hopefully as you're going through the videos, you're seeing some more contextual insights that are relevant to Eliot's poetry and how they interrelate in his construction of the poems. If you'd like more of this content, please do like and subscribe, and we'll have more coming your way. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching once again. If you are enjoying our content, and we hope you are, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and of course, share with your friends.
That's right, guys, thanks for watching, but please do make sure you check out our very special resources. They're quite unique. We've made a whole bunch of state rank practical guides for all your English texts out there. So check out the link now at ignitehsc.com.au. Let us know what you think. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.